皆さんこんにちは、我那覇真子です。前回我那覇真子チャンネルで公開したアメリカ大統領不正選挙の調査に関する動画は非常に大きな反響を受けました。今回紹介する動画はその調査に携わったメンバーのお一人にインタビューをしましたので、その動画の公開となります。ぜひご覧ください。Hello everyone, this is Masako Ganaha. Today, I'm in Dublin, Ireland. Ireland is a difficult word to pronounce for me, but I'm really enjoying staying here. So today, I got opportunity to interview very serious topic. What really happened on US election? First of all, let me introduce my interviewee. He is American researcher, and his name is Mr. Carter Fly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for seeing me.
I'm really excited to learn what you have researched.
Yes.
And in 2020, it was so many dramas, I think.
Yes.
And I think it still keep going on.
Yes, absolutely.
And your work is very valuable, not only to American people, but also the people who seek the truth all over the world.
Yes.
So today, our topic is, once again, what really happened on the US presidential election.
Wow.
Okay, so my first question is,
Okay.
what did you and the team research on, and what did you find out?
Well, we spent many months doing research, and it was a multi-pronged effort. So there was a technical effort, there was a traditional investigative effort, and we also looked into executives and the corporations behind the companies that own the voting machines as well. So in the technical effort, we would have looked for how the machines are constructed, how they're made, how they operate, operating systems, whatnot. And then we would have looked into the standards for which they're evaluated by federal government standards. And then we would have looked into the companies that own them, previous history, owners of those companies, and the money behind them.
Before I interview you, I watched a documentary or video that your team created.
Yes.
And the name of the documentary is Cyber Symposium.
Yes.
Colonel Phil Waldron, Your Wake Up Call.
Yes.
And I saw this video view count was over 2 million.
Yes.
So I hope many Japanese people would see this too. And
Absolutely.
hopefully maybe somebody will put Japanese subtitle. But today I got this great opportunity to listen directly from you. So today the things that you are going to talk about is not the third information, but what your team actually researched on.
Yes.
So first hand research.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so you said you researched on the voting machine too.
Yes. There's we had a technical team, and then our other traditional research team. So the technical team would have been out gathering the technical evidence that they could from different locations across the U.S. And we would have been researching the companies and money and history.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, before we dig into this, most of my viewers are from Japan. So they only know how the voting system goes in Japan.
Right.
So could you please a little bit explain to us how American people vote?
Yeah, that's it's really down to each and every individual state, and sometimes down to individual counties. But at the large scale level, a county or a state can elect to buy in electronic voting machines. Those voting machines have to pass a federal standard, and they're certified for use. Then those machines can be delivered to the state or the county for use. With those voting machines, there's only about 3 major brands that are used within the U.S. And those voting machines typically have, when you vote electronically, you would also get a paper receipt for that vote. So you can vote by machine. You can also do what they call absentee ballot. So for Americans living around the world, can request a ballot be sent to them, and then they can send it back to the state of which they're registered in. And then there's also, that may also be considered mail-in voting, whereas ballots can just be sent out to people, this is largely what happened across many of the essential states, is that ballots were just sent out to people to their address that are on the electoral register. So everybody that's on the electoral register would be sent a ballot, and then they could just fill it out and put it in a drop box. So there's about 3 different ways that you can get a vote in.
And the research you worked on
Yes.
is mainly for the votes that were cast at the voting place?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. At the time, we didn't really have the numbers for the mail-in ballots, and there was a lot of paper ballots that were dropped in, but we didn't know how they got there.
So you worked on the machines that were actually used at the polls.
Well, yeah, we researched the machines, and researched the companies. We took the instruction manuals for the machines and broke down how the whole system fits together, technically and physically. So.
I see. And I know for those who have been following many internet independent journalists, they will know what is happening. But I recall at that time, many people concerned about one day at night, counting suddenly stopped and then had a spike, which called, I think, Biden jump.
Yes.
And that moment, we would be able to know what happened by researching on the voting machine, correct?
We did more than research. We had some very brilliant people assisting us, university professors and mathematicians, and they effectively proved that it was mathematically and physically impossible for the amount of votes that were put through those machines. The machines couldn't have handled that many votes in such a short time. I think it was maybe a 4-hour period or so. So it was mathematically and physically impossible to run that many votes through the machines for the jump that was made.
I see. So in many ways, it was impossible.
Yes.
If the election was according to the rule.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see. And what exactly this voting machine do? People go to poll, and then I went to one of the polling place in Washington D.C.
Yes.
And I saw there is this place people manually circle who they want to vote, and there is this machine, so they could choose which way to vote, correct?
Yeah.
And then you're talking about this machine side.
Right.
So I remember people have this paper, and then put the paper in the
it
machine.
scans. Yeah.
Scans. So this is the voting machine that we are talking about.
Yes.
And what was the most concerning thing that you find out about this machine?
Well, by federal standards, they're not supposed to be connected to the internet. but we know for a fact that many of the machines throughout many states were connected to the internet. They're designed to be connected to the internet. All right. As a matter of fact, many of the machines were brought to a number of the Black Hat conferences in Las Vegas that happen every year, and they allow hackers to get on the machines and show how easily they can be hacked. And this goes on year after year, and there have been many documentaries made about how easy the machines can be hacked, and it's demonstrated. You can find video after video on YouTube and other sources in regards to these machines, but they were designed to be on the internet, and they were connected to the internet. That was probably the most disturbing thing, is that they didn't even follow federal standards. They were allowed to break the rules.
Oh, I see. So the federal standard rule, the machine should not be connected to
Correct.
the internet, but it was.
Yeah.
How did you or your team find out it was connected?
Well, that may be a bit of proprietary information.
Okay. But okay, let me change the question then.
Yeah.
According to the video I watched that
Yes.
your team made, it was talking about Michigan investigation team.
Yes.
Find out they actually opened the machine,
Yeah.
and there was the chip board, and
Yeah.
there was this 4G wireless chip
Yeah.
that was embedded.
Right.
Could you please a little bit talk about this?
Well, I know that there was a design to have the chip in there, just looking at the schematics, but as they were on the technical team, as the group on the ground, I didn't lay eyes on it myself. So
You saw?
No.
You didn't.
Because they were the technical team,
yes.
so I let them handle that side. You know.
I see.
But no, they were designed to have the 4G. So.
It's interesting. This should be like breaking news, and I saw many people who at the Congress, for example, they were saying the election machine was not connected to internet. There are so many clips.
Well, they testified before Congress that it wasn't, and then under the officially sanctioned investigation by the Arizona State Secretary of State, the County Elections Board refused to hand over some of the routers that would have showed the traffic and logs for the voting machine centers. They refused to hand those over. So as to their reasons why, only they know, but we have our suspicions.
So you're one of the investigation team in Michigan actually opened the machine and find the tip.
Yeah.
What happened afterwards? What did your team do afterwards? Did you submit this to court or?
No, I mean, really all we could do was just make the information available. The people that have to act on it are the elections boards for the counties, the judges, Secretary of State for whatever state it was in. We can make the information available, but they're the ones that have to do something about it.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
So if they choose not to do something about it, then it goes nowhere.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Which is the case in all of the contentious states.
I see. Even though private investigation team present evidence to the public, but if the official ignored it, then
nothing happens.
They can just ignore it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We presented overwhelming evidence on a number of different fronts, and judges wouldn't hear it. They wouldn't hear the case.
Wow.
So,
wow, this is very shocking.
yes.
Oh, okay, then let me move on to the next question. Okay, so So you said among the research that you actually worked on the case in Arizona.
Yes.
Arizona. Could you please introduce the research in Arizona?
Yeah, Arizona had a couple of questionable counties, and when we first began our initial investigations there, we're not sure who was behind it or what the motive was, but one night in the early weeks of the investigation, our offices were broken into, our computers were stolen, and all of our files were stolen, so that to help in order to hinder the work that we were doing. So we rebuilt from that and continued to gather evidence on that.
Is it possible to tell us who broke into your office?
No, we don't know.
You don't know?
No.
What about the police? They don't investigate?
No, there was nothing. I mean, they probably did a report, but nothing was ever determined or found. So
there are so many shocking things to hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next question. So despite your team has discovered so many overwhelming evidence, and if one person wants to see the reality, we can just go to hear you or your team.
Yes.
And then we can understand what really happened. But the reality is that the court system or the U.S. official organizations,
Yes.
they are just stopping.
Yes, most of them were appointed by a Democrat to start with, so they're Democratic judges, so in favor of the Democrat Party.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I just say, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is money investment on election fraud.
Yes.
Could you please tell what happened in money-wise?
There was a huge amount of dark money spent in organizing the amount of fraud that was conducted. So dark money would be money that's given by an individual or organization to, let's say, a foundation, and then that foundation may hand out more money to smaller foundations so that it's spread throughout the country. And you can see this, a sample of something like this, what Mark Zuckerberg did with his approximate $440 million that he used to put mail-in ballot boxes in particular places in cities in crucial states. Mm-hmm. So with that money, you can pay a lot of people to do a lot of groundwork with that, and it's essentially untraceable because of the amount of organizations that it goes through. But we would pretty much know where the money's coming from. So.
And is it okay to mention the name who funded?
Well, in my research, ironically, I found that Dominion voting machines headquarters in Toronto were housed in the exact same building as one of George Soros's foundations at the time, when it was supported by him. So why George Soros and Dominion voting machines are in the same building in Toronto, I found to be exceptionally interesting.
Yes. And in the video I watched, it was stating about over 200 non-private organizations received funding from
Yes.
George Soros.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And I have watched a documentary on election fraud by the name of the documentary is 2000 Mules.
Yes.
And it focused on groundwork. And
Yes.
so there are multiple aspects if you were to talk about what happened on the election.
Absolutely.
Money-wise, there's this big George Soros funding a lot of money,
Yes.
or Zuckerberg put a lot of money,
Yes.
and then this money was used to locate many voting books.
Yeah.
And then this 2000 mule, there are many mules, meaning that people who delivered votes, ballot harvesting.
Yes.
So there are so many people. Are they really how should we understand this? Was this like one person organizing everything, or there are so many people trying to do in a towards one direction?
There were many people in this effort. I personally witnessed a number of video conference calls between a couple of dozen people discussing how to bring the government to a standstill if Donald Trump won. These would be mid-level, high-level government employees in different departments actively talking about how to bring the government to a standstill because they didn't get their outcome that they wanted. So when you're talking about money being spent, what many people don't know, after the riots of 2018, yes, many people donated to BLM, Black Lives Matter, via a website called Act Blue. Act Blue sent hundreds of millions to the Democratic National Party, and that's verifiable in their records. Mm-hmm. Instead of the money going to the causes that people donated the money for, it was instead redirected to the DNC.
What is DNC?
Democratic National.
I see.
Yeah.
And then this money was used related to election.
Yes. Yeah. For the election. Yeah.
Wow. So you're saying that not only the voting machine wise or money wise, there was this active physical people preparing to do some kind of coup within government.
They were just actively not work. So their government department that they oversaw, they would just not either process the work that they had to do, and nothing would get done. So
like sabotage then.
A type, it would be a type of sabotage,
Wow. And then the result is here now in 2022.
Yes, exactly. You know, in the short time that Biden has been in office, every single month is a new disaster. Mm-hmm. You know, there were no wars during the Trump era, and now we're like on the verge of World War III. It seems. The economy is in the worst place it's been in nearly 40 years. So he's done exceptionally well to bring the country to its knees in such a short amount of time. You know, and that's why we fought so hard to try to show the truth as to what actually happened in this election.
I see. I think probably the people who are watching this interview are thinking, what can we do, or how can we seek the truth? And what do you would say to people who are concerning about this?
There's many Americans with the exact same concerns, because we can't have the same thing happen again. But there's just so much overwhelming fraud throughout the entire process, electronically, physically, people manipulating voting polls, whatnot. And the media themselves conspired. Time magazine actually admitted and published an article that all the major media heads conspired to manipulate the outcome of the election. I believe that was published in possibly March of 2021. But they fully admitted to conspiring. So we're fighting not just technically, not just financially, but we're fighting the media as well, because the media are all very much in collusion with the Democrats on that side as well. So what do we do about it? That is the toughest question to answer, because you have to fight it on so many fronts. And we've learned from the past experience that exposing the truth doesn't fix anything, because the people that are supposed to enforce the truth don't do their job. And in fact, we see just the opposite. Those that are supposed to enforce the truth come after those that do expose the truth. And it becomes a very dangerous situation in that regard. So.
Is there any danger to your team?
Not physical danger, but they've, I know that many of them have been harassed, subpoenaed, ridiculed, and it's been very tough for many of them. Yeah.
Well, maybe then the things that we can say is maybe more whistleblowers.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
And organizations like Project Veritas, they do exceptional work. And there's many organizations out there that are doing really good work and making a difference. But it's like chipping ice cubes off an iceberg. There's a lot to be done. So.
Wow. Okay. So my final two questions. Once again, what is your conclusion based on your research on the U.S. presidential election?
My conclusion is that there's overwhelming fraud, and during my research, I actually uncovered a document produced by an organization and team that Stacey Abrams had created, and they prepared a document that stated explicitly that this one company's voting machines had been corrupted. But not once was that document ever brought out during the 2020 election, because it went in their favor. So they kept their mouths shut, and they kept this document under wraps. But even Stacey Abrams knows that these machines are corrupt. We received over 50,000 affidavits from individuals that felt they had witnessed election fraud. 50,000 affidavits from people. So, it undoubtedly happened.
Okay. And this year, the beginning of next month,
yes,
there is going to be midterm election.
Yes.
What do you think? Do you think same thing will happen?
It's going to be one of the most important elections in U.S. history. What happens here determines the fate of the country. So the Democrats are going to do everything they possibly can to retain power. That's financially, technically, through the media. They know no bounds as to playing fair or being truthful. So, yeah, it's going to be a fight to the finish for the midterms. So we'll be watching it literally minute by minute.
Oh, I see. I hope your team would expose the truth so that we know what is really happening. We just want to know the truth.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yeah,
I
the
think
world-
we share the same value.
The world would be a much better place if the truth was out there and we had decent people in office making decent decisions. So,
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe the one thing if I were to say to you, please stay safe.
I will try. Very much so. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very
So-
much for this opportunity.
Thank you. So.